One of the most common things that you will hear as somebody who is ready to have children or looking to have children in the future is that babies are expensive. This is something that we heard countless times before we had our baby boy. And, today we're just going to have a discussion about that and look at it from our experience of what we were thinking before we had our baby. And then now he's just over a year old. So we're kind of coming at this from the perspective of a 1-year-old baby and kind of what we think. So are babies expensive? What do you think?
Well, I think that's such a relative statement because what could be expensive to you may not be expensive to me, number one. But the second point is that when it really comes to it, everything in life has a cost. Like, let's be serious. Everything in life has a cost. So you come as yourself, you have cost to yourself. I come as myself, I have costs that are associated with me. So does a child. You're bringing in someone external who need to be fed, who need nappies, who need to be looked after, who probably needs toys. So they also need they have costs associated with them. So are they expensive? I think it's relative. I don't necessarily think it's that they're expensive. I just think they have costs associated with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in that case, babies have a lot of costs involved. So let's think about this. So when we first find out, obviously, that we're going to have a baby, I guess there wasn't really much of a direct cost, but there's all things that you think we need to buy in advance before the baby's here. And this is things like cot bed, obviously nappies, and wipes.
Travel system, like the stroller.
What else? Next to me, Moses basket. A whole lot of like napkins and all sorts of things. I think that list definitely grows, and at that point, yes, it will feel expensive because you're buying a lot of things at once, especially if you're the kind of person who wants to kind of have everything ready before the baby the baby is born. And you might even go down the road of like decorating the baby's room and everything like that, right? So from that perspective, that can be expensive. But when the baby is here, I think that shifts quite a lot. You then realize that actually babies are simple, if I can say it that way. So what babies need is, I guess, to be fed, to be dressed, and to be looked after.
To be entertained.
And to be entertained slightly,
And a lot of the times, their entertainment isn't it you necessarily going to buy them things to entertain themselves with. Yes, sometimes you can go get them like the little toys that they can play with. But we always found that with our son, you get him like a little toy and then you've got like a box of orange juice, for example. He wants the box of orange juice. Like, forget that toy. He doesn't need it.
Yeah, he wants to play with it.
Yeah, like it's quite crazy how I think we think as parents, we think, I have to get them this, that, and the other. I have to make sure they've got all these toys and all these things to entertain themselves. But we also found even during summer, you literally just open the back door. He's happy to be out there for like a good 2 hours and then come back in the house. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as parents, or especially first-time parents. I think we really put a lot of pressure on ourselves to then make everything perfect and have everything ready and make sure they're all set with everything when they actually just need the simple things in life.
So, but one of the expensive areas is definitely food. So, like, I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But this depends on how you're going to do it. So, obviously, let's track back. When the baby is born, you might decide to kind of nurse the baby directly as a mother, or you might also decide to bottle feed.
Yeah.
You could do obviously a combination of both. If you decide to only do kind of the nursing side, then obviously that's not necessarily that you're buying milk. But if you do decide to do combi feed, then formula. The prices of formula, if you've never been a parent, are a bit of a shock. It's just like, oh my God, that's expensive.
Because we combi fed.
Yeah.
And we found that, wow, like formula is not a joke.
It's not a joke, man. And but the thing is, it's not. I guess it's not really how much it is. It's how frequently you have to buy it.
Yeah, especially those initial years. Like when our son was a lot younger, he was drinking a lot more milk. So we found that we were having to buy like milk on a regular.
Like so almost weekly. Maybe, or maybe every 8-10 days, something like that.
And what we ended up doing to make it easier for us was we did a subscription because we were like, okay, if we do a subscription, we're ordering for the whole month. Obviously when you're buying it for the month, it's more expensive, but with the subscription, you're getting a percentage taken off. So that was really helpful. And it just gets
delivered, so we didn't have to forget or run out. Like, all my days will run out of formula at midnight. I have to go out and get formula. So that's definitely one thing that I guess will feel expensive. But as you said, that's just part of the cost of a baby, right?
Yeah.
But with other things, say for example clothes. Clothes is definitely probably another one because babies grow rapidly. So you'll buy something today, and yes, it might be labeled like 0 to 3 months, but like 3 months is actually not that long of a time. And then you have to buy the next lot, 3 to 6 months, and then you need to buy the next lot, 6 to 9 months, and then you kind of you almost feel like, oh, we just bought this like a few weeks ago. It doesn't fit already. Right, let's go back and buy another pair, buy another pair, and you're constantly kind of going through that cycle of buying clothes, I guess, because of the baby's growing so much.
Yeah, I definitely felt like that in the first year. Where it was like, whoa, like what's going on? Like every 3 months you're having to start buying a new set and a new lot of clothes. But once we hit that 1 year mark, everything changed. Because obviously now you're looking at clothes that are 12 to 18. And I think that's the saving grace. Because then you're not buying clothes every 3 months. But now you're 12 to 18. And then the rate at which children then grow from 12 months also slows down. So you find that they're eating less or they're not having to eat as much and stuff. So because of that, they're not growing as rapidly. So the rate at which they grow is a lot slower. And now I'm also finding that our son's still wearing some of his like 9 to 12 month clothes as well as like the 12 to 18. So we're not having to buy a lot anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Nappies is another one, of course. Nappies, diapers.
Nappies.
I'm trying to think. I think in the first early days, and I'm talking like maybe the first 3 months, maybe 4 months, we were changing diapers maybe 5 or 6 times a day. Maybe.
If not more than that.
Maybe more actually, like maybe 8 or 10 a day. It was quite a lot. And so if you buy a pack of 30, that's just 3 days or 4 days. So from that perspective as well, that's another one. You're just like, oh my goodness, that we were constantly going shopping. Not even just for ourselves or even just for like groceries, just nappies, clothes, wipes, and formula.
Yeah.
Big ones. So those are the main things. And so I'd say this. Can they be expensive? Yes, they can, but it depends on how you approach all of this, or what we're saying. So all of these things that you do need to buy, particularly on a like almost a weekly, if not every month. Number one, it's going to be where you shop. So if you choose to buy products that are more expensive than other products, then of course it will be more expensive. But this comes back to what we were saying earlier. It is relative because a box of nappies that costs you say £5 compared to £15. That's also a relative situation. You might think it's not worth spending the £15 for nappies if I can buy them £5, but some people might think, well, £15 is not that much for us. Or they might even turn around and say, actually, even if it's a lot, we think it's worth buying that kind of, paying that kind of price for nappies. And the same applies for everything.
Yeah, I actually realised, like, when it came to clothes, there were certain things that were not really keen on buying, like maybe the cheaper stuff. So we're very much like, we need to get stuff that's a good quality, a good brand. And one example is Next. Like, we were buying vests from Next and stuff because they lasted quite long, and it's something that we realized along the way. And the more you wash them, those things are still really good. So for us, it was better to buy them at more pricier price than to buy the ones that were cheaper and then continuously keep buying and buying and buying because the quality is not as great. So when you're saying it's relative, it really is, because sometimes you have to spend the money because in the long run, you won't have to keep buying more. Whereas if you buy cheaper, you keep having to keep buying stuff. So it is relative, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's kind of been our experience, particularly in the early years, and obviously now at this current stage, we've obviously got the big expense of nursery and paying for nursery, but we can probably talk about that in a separate video. But I think in the first year of like your baby, or maybe the first 9 months or something like that, yes, babies can be expensive, but as we said, it is relative. I definitely think that maybe like a good, 70% of it or 80% of it is more on us, the parents, kind of feeling that, we want to buy this, and look how cute this is, let's buy it, or I want to provide the best for my baby.
Exactly.
So because of that feeling, you feel like if you buy something cheap, then you're not doing that, which is obviously not the truth.
Yeah.
Like, as long as your baby is well fed, healthy, and well taken care of, that's you definitely giving you the best for your baby. It's not necessarily that if you buy the cheap thing, you're not taking care of them in the best way possible.
You still are.
You still are, 100%. And so I think that's definitely something that we had to, like...
Mindset.
It was a mindset that we had to adopt at some point. So that's one thing we'd encourage you with.
Yeah. And I think for me personally, the way I ended up looking at it was the fact that like I was saying in the beginning, like we all have costs associated with us. So bringing in another person also means they'll have a cost associated with them. Because right now, if we were to say, for example, we ask one of our parents to come live with us and we say to them, don't work at all, we will look after you. There's a cost associated with them. So I feel like sometimes people don't think of it that way. They just look at the expense and they're like, oh yeah, no, children are just expensive because you have to get them this, that, and that. Forgetting that we also have costs associated with us. And it could be like, now that we're married, I could say things like, yo, being married is expensive. Like, it's just so expensive. Can you imagine the amount of people that I would put off just by that statement alone? Because I've simply said it's just expensive. So I think it's one of those things that when we are talking about the expenses as parents, maybe let's also talk about the good things that come with having children. Because as much as we've had costs associated with our son, I would not change our son for anything. Like, the joy that he has brought into our home, the joy that he brings to our lives, you can't put a cost on that. I'd happily spend money to just have him around and just have that joy in our home.
Yeah, so I hope that this conversation has kind of been eye-opening for those of you who are pregnant, soon to be pregnant, thinking about having a baby, and you keep hearing that babies are expensive. We just want to offer a different perspective onto this as parents of a 1-year-old baby. Now, let us know in the comments, have you found this useful? What are your thoughts? And if you are a parent, what do you think? Would you say babies are expensive or not? Or do you think it is relative? Would love to hear from you, and we'll see you on the next one.